Hello and welcome to another episode of Auspol Explained. I am, as always, your bearded host with the curly hair, David, and I am going to be talking about the topic of party leadership today. And to help us do that, we have a special guest. Welcome to the show.
Fantastic. Good to be here.
Excellent. Well, first up, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to our audience. So that is your name, your position, and a brief physical description for accessibility purposes.
Michael McCormack, federal member for Riverina, member of the National Party, middle-aged politician. I've been an elected representative of the federal parliament, the House of Representatives, since 2010, and I climbed the ranks all the way up to Deputy Prime Minister, served in that role for 3 and a bit years, and I've been a member back as a local member as such since June this year, 2021, after a leadership spill in the party room, and no doubt many people saw and observed that. But look, enjoying the role.
You've been in politics my entire adult life.
There you go. And look, it seems like only yesterday. I mean, people talk about these things, but 11 years have gone very, very quickly. A few things have changed. Hair might be sort of a different colour.
Well, fun fact, you were the 14th leader of the National Party, if we're including its predecessor, the Country Party, on the federal level. So you've got some very specific experience that I'd really love to dive in. And so let's begin. What is the role of a party leader in its essence?
Well, it's to provide leadership guidance and direction of your political party, whilst at the same time taking on board the views of the different members. And sometimes, as we've seen just this week, the leader doesn't always get his way when it comes to the party making a decision on something. But it's important to make sure that all views in that room are heard, are listened to. And like anything, it comes down to majority rules. So, if the party has a view on one particular thing, it doesn't matter whether it's the leader or the noisiest person in the room might have a different view. It's the overall view of the room that wins the day.
That's an important thing to note. I think the common misconception of a party leader is that they have a lot of control over what is ultimately policy, but it's a party room decision. But what effect does a leader have on that policy?
Well, of course, you get the first say and the last say, and you can guide your room by, and you've also got input from not just the community, but as well the Prime Minister, and obviously the Prime Minister, holds a bit of sway in a lot of things. I mean, at the end of the day, they are the Prime Minister of the country, and so you're in the unique position where you know what the Prime Minister is thinking, where you have that knowledge of where the cabinet is sort of going, and you're able to influence your party members as far as where you think the government is heading, what direction they're taking on important policy positions. And so that's important. And at the end of the day, leaders need to have a certain charisma, a certain charm, a certain leadership style, and they all do. They've all got their own way of doing things, but it's actually taking on, being able to collaboratively get on board your members' views and thoughts.
You said the leader has the first and last say. Does that mean that a leader can veto something?
Depends on I suppose, whether they take a vote in a room. I mean, in any meeting in Westminster or other even other systems of the way meetings are run, often the chair has the casting vote if in fact the vote is tied. And when I say the first say, I mean generally at any given meeting of the National Party, well, it's the leader followed by the deputy leader has the first say. That's just understandable. It's like the joint party room. The Prime Minister is always the first to speak, followed by the Deputy Prime Minister. That's just par for the course. But obviously, when I say the last say, I mean, they're the ones who are going to wrap meetings up. they're the ones who are going to be fronting the media first on any important policy position. That's just the way things are run. I mean, the leader has a lot of say and therefore a lot of sway.
Continuing on your responsibilities in the party room, is it up to a party leader to sort of expel a member, or is that like a party group decision?
Well, I haven't been in a position where a member required expulsion. But obviously, if such a case were to occur, it would be discussed within the party room, unless it was a situation whereby there wasn't the ability to have a party meeting, or indeed, it was so bad that obviously the leader just needed to take action, him or herself. And there have been times when members have been stripped of their ministries, so they've been either sacked or forced to resign their ministerial portfolios, but to be actually kicked out of the party, well, that's probably next level, next step. Now, I fortunately haven't been in that situation where that has arisen, but to kick somebody out of the party would also probably require a federal management discussion, because the National Party, like the Liberal Party, like the Labor Party, is formed of state branches, and there's an overarching body, which is the federal executive. And so if you had to actually kick somebody out of the party, not only would you need to discuss it with the federal manager, you'd probably also have to discuss it with their state chair. And, that would be a big step to take. But indeed, if somebody deserved expulsion, well, that's the course a party or a leader would have to go down.
What are some specific added responsibilities of being a party leader?
Making sure that you are available 24/7, and I'm really meaning 24/7. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Three and a bit years I was the leader of the National Party and Deputy Prime Minister. I didn't have a day off in that, and I'm not complaining. That's just the emphasis and the focus. Even Christmas Day, I mean, either constituents or your colleagues would be sending you messages of asking you to look at something, read something, prepare something, do something. I mean, it's a full-on job, and I mean it's 16 hours a day, every day. That's okay. You're not going to do those jobs forever. You're only the custodian of a position for as long as the people want you to be, either your party or the people who actually send you to Canberra in the first place. And the demands are high. And you as Deputy Prime Minister, before COVID travel restrictions were really in force, I spent my life on the road and in airports and making sure I got out and to not only all of my representatives' electorates, but indeed to as many electorates across the country, whether they were in government or in opposition or in independent, to make sure. And I was somebody who also took on board the views of those who weren't in the party, those who were either our coalition colleagues, the Liberal Party, or indeed Labor members and others. I always made sure that if I attended their electorates, that I let them know I was coming, and certainly if we were in a forum together, gave them equal say and the ability to be on the stage at the same time as I was, and made sure that I reached out to them to be in a bypass fashion, because people, the last thing they want to see is politicians playing the partisan line all the time. They actually like to see things get done, roads being built, dams being constructed, and they like to see their politicians, whatever colour or stripe or creed they are, actually getting along.
That's good to hear. So expanding on that, I suppose like an added duty is that you have to campaign for the whole party, not just your electorate.
Yeah, indeed. No, in the last election, I was unable to be at every single polling booth on every, during the, and they are a long time, these election campaigns, 6 weeks or more. Pre-poll opens, there's a lot of pre-poll. And, I was unable to be in the Riverina the whole time. In fact, I was probably only there now and again on weekends leading up to the election and the last few days of the election, because I was in other areas, talking up the National Party, our policies, the government's views on all matters, whether it was climate, whether it was infrastructure, no matter what, health, education, services, those sorts of things, right around Australia. And when you are Deputy Prime Minister, obviously you get the ability to travel a little bit more than your average backbencher. And so, there's also the expectation that you will turn up and campaign with your colleagues and make sure that their interests are represented and that their people know that you, as the Deputy Prime Minister, second in charge of the country, care about, that particular electorate's needs and wants as well.
The Nationals are in a somewhat unique situation in that they alone don't form government, they form a coalition, and as part of that agreement, some national members become ministers in cabinet. How does that relationship work? Are you would the party leader be like, these are the people I want to be ministers, and the Liberal Party say, these are the ministerial positions that they have?
Yes. So just to understand the coalition, the Liberal Party was formed in the 1940s. The National Party was formed in 1920. So we're the second oldest political party after the Labor Party in Australia. But so we've been in a coalition with the Liberal Party for 70 or so years. That coalition has only been broken on very few occasions in opposition after certain elections, and but generally in almost all of the last 70 years, we've been in that business, marriage, whatever you like to call it, with the Liberal Party. So when it comes to determining the ministerial positions, it's worked out on a quota basis with the seats. So if the National Party, as we have at the moment, 21 members, and so the Liberal Party, they work out a proportional ratio. So we've got at the moment 5 cabinet positions and some outer ministry positions. It's worked out on a quota basis, and generally we take we're given, and first and foremost, it's at the behest and the gift of the Prime Minister of the country. When it's a coalition government, it's the Liberal leader, the Liberal Prime Minister, in this case Scott Morrison. He says, well, look, you've got X number of positions. The National Party generally fills positions such as infrastructure, agriculture, water, transport, regional development. We've had Veterans Affairs for some time. We often fill positions such as decentralisation, those things which are important to regional people. Resources, for instance, mining and resources comes generally under the National Party. So the leader of the National Party then determines which of his, who amongst his ranks are going to fill those ministerial roles. I was always of the view that you shouldn't be, and weren't under my leadership, you couldn't be a first-term member of Parliament and be a minister, because I think in your first term, irrespective of your talents, you need to be going to your electorate, those people who voted you in, and turning up for their events, turning up for their meetings, turning up for their forums, and making sure that they know that they've got a good person in Canberra representing their interests. And when you are a minister, it does take you out of the electorate. It does refocus your mind, because you're that much busier. There's that much more demands on your time. And even though now that I'm back on the backbench, I'm still working as many hours as I can, as many hours as I used to. I mean, that you can create yourself work by having a hard work ethic. There is obviously, because of the situation, you do spend a lot more time travelling as a minister as opposed to if you were just a local member. So in the National Party, the positions within the ministry are the gift of the leader, and he determines those positions. The deputy leader of the National Party, they can have their choice as to what portfolio. And so David Littleproud, who was my second deputy leader after Bridget McKenzie, he chose that he wanted to be the agriculture minister, and so he was given that role. But the other ones were at my decision.
Can we expand a little on how decision-making processes work in the coalition? because, you know, if it's just one party, you've explained how you do it with like one party room, but there's multiple leaders, there's multiple parties, and you have to come to consensus. And without citing anything specific, we know that the leader of the Nationals and the leader of the Liberals can butt heads on certain things. So how does that like relationship where you are dealing with multiple party leaders work?
What I used to do, most importantly, was if I had a discussion on policy with the Prime Minister, the Liberal leader, and we didn't agree, we kept that between ourselves, and we might have had that earnest and robust discussion, always behind closed doors, and made sure that I let him know on behalf of my party what I was thinking, what we were thinking. He would let me know his viewpoint, and we'd reached an agreement. I mean, politics is not always about getting what you want 100% of the time. Sometimes you have to make compromises. Sometimes you have to, make sure that whilst your people are not being left behind and they're getting the very best deal, you don't always get everything you want every piece of the time. And so it's making sure that whilst you might agree to disagree, you're happy with the outcome because it's what is going to help your people get better services, better funding, those sorts of things. So what would happen on an important policy outcome would be that the Liberal Party meets. It meets regularly in a sitting fortnight. It meets once in the first week. The National Party meets both weeks. Obviously the ministers have discussions with backbench committees. They have discussions with crossbench in as much as sort of they have bipartisan. There's bipartisan committees for agriculture, for all the portfolios. They have discussions about things, but ultimately, at the end of the day, the parties will have their own say. The cabinet will reach a consensus on a policy position. It'll go back to the parties. It'll go to the joint party room, and once the backbench committee is satisfied with what the minister has told them, therefore it then gets written up as legislation. It goes to the party, the parliament. The Labor Party, as it is at the moment, the opposition, or even indeed crossbenchers, or even indeed government members, should they wish to make amendments. I mean, a minister can even make an amendment if there's something that's come about, which is a newfound position or something which hadn't occurred to them as they were writing the legislation. They can make amendments to a bill, and so there's a lot of oversight, a lot of views put on. It's an important process that takes place, and people out there, particularly young people, can rest assured that there's been a lot of thought put into legislation as it becomes law.
How does one become a party leader, basically? Do you have any particular qualifications that the party values, or is it more about an internal discussion with the party?
Oh, David, it's all of that and much more. I mean, it's good luck, good management, good timing, right person, right place, right time. You obviously have to have earned the respect of your peers. You obviously have to have been somebody who was stable, had a good media presence, been able to be somebody who could speak on difficult topics to meetings which sometimes weren't very friendly. Someone who had been in the parliament for some time, so you understood the parliamentary system and were able to convey a message for and on behalf of not just the members of your party, but indeed in the Nationals' sake, the rural and regional, coastal and remote people.
So is there any advice that you have to share?
Get involved. I mean, it doesn't matter which political party that you have views on. If you turn up to a meeting, I mean, I know the young Nationals in our party, sometimes they come up with some weird and wonderful ideas, but they're the future. And, they're having a crack, they're having their say, and there are some really good opportunities. I've seen some young people come through the ranks, young women particularly in recent years. So there are many opportunities for women, young people to take part, to have their say, to go to conferences, and often it's something that a person raises, a young person, on the conference floor, which ultimately becomes legislation through that process I spoke about. Some idea, some spark of an idea that where somebody thought something should have been better, where somebody thought something could have been an opportunity for a regional community that was going to make people's lives better. They raised it on the floor of the conference because they were involved in a branch, or indeed didn't even turn up to the conference, just actually wrote the motion out, and it was put to conference, and that has ultimately become law, and that's a big plus.
Well, that is all the questions. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, David. Anytime at all. Take care. And as I say to those young people out there, have a go. It's one of those things where if you want to be a politician, you want to have a go, then certainly I know political parties out there would love to hear from you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And there you have it. I hope you've learned a few things about party leadership. Thank you to Michael McCormack for joining us. Comment down below what you would like to learn about next, share, subscribe, all those sorts of things. And you can support me on Patreon. There's a link in the description where you can get episodes earlier than everyone else. There is also a copy of the transcript in the description. So if you would like to rather read instead of listen to this episode, you may do so. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.